Now is the time, a time you'll look back on, a time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time, this moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome, take over. The time is now.
Yes, again, E-I-E-I-E-I-O, up the Premier League we go. Oh, that's it. Good night, everybody.
Love it.
How is everybody?
Good. Great, actually, to be fair.
Only good, Richie.
No, great to be fair.
Pizza and the brandy. You whisked through a fair few bottles there.
I was going to say the only reason why I said good is the kind of ice I'm going to do after this show.
Is that your audio? Are you getting that as well, Pete?
Yeah.
I think it's your speakers, Richie.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's gone off.
It's gone now. God, it just went crazy there for a second.
It's probably because I said the word pile of ironing. That's probably why.
Pile of ironing. It wasn't on my bingo for tonight's show. But let's get straight into it, lads. I was expecting Chris to jump on here. He must be still have the crayons out doing the application. We know Martin can't make it because he's away on a scout mission in South America, I think. No, it's not South America. No, it's somewhere else. So let's get straight into it. And the team. So you'll notice that the team had 4 changes today. So out went Char, Miggy, and Shelby and Wood. And in came Lascelles, Willock, Longstaff, and Murphy. Did it make a difference? No. Still still the same result. We got our win. But yeah, there's the Norwich team as well. So I think J7 must have been making 100 appearances because that's what the flag says. So that was a nice little touch. Flags wherever we go. And Bruno with his customary picture as well. Love those pictures, Bruno. And of course, we all know the lads are watching this show now because they're picking up and they're improving on performance, individual performances day in, day out. So let's get into I'll run you a quick run through the game. I'll try to be quick. 6 minutes, Bruno ball to Murphy, and Murphy had a volley past the post as a chance then as well. And 8 minutes for Norwich, a good ball over the top. And actually, I borrowed this picture from Kev from Twitter. That's a nice little graphic he had there. Yeah, he skied it over the bar. Cheers, Kev, for that one. But then Norwich were looking for a penalty as well at one stage. ASM was a little nudge. There was no way it was going to be a penalty. That was around 40 minutes. Norwich counter, Foss to Pookie. Newcastle all come back in numbers. It just shows you the passion and they could be on the beach. They don't have to give everything, but they want to give everything. So yeah, the back in numbers and no Norwich player from De Pasta. No one in sight. Look, I'm going to get onto the goals. Bruno's ball again, another class ball from Bruno. Murphy back heel onto Kraft, on back to Murphy. ASM. I'm going to say dummy from Longstaff. Not that he didn't get anywhere near the ball. It's just a dummy from Longstaff. And J7 goal. J7 knocking on the door of the Brazilian squad, of course. So that's it. 1-0. Everyone loving that. Everyone delighted. Then we move on. Bruno put another ball through between Willock and Murphy were trying to outpace each other. Again, none of the Norwich defenders anywhere near. Shot was, I think it was could have been possibly deflected. And J7 again, bang, goal. So J7, 2 in that match. We were all then shouting ourselves, going, J7 needs a hat trick here. Could he get it? And we actually, and here's a bit of a celebration. And we had a bit of audio then as well in our own chat, because we have to play a little bit of audio. This is our little touch of Chris.
Hey, it's Brazilian. He only costs 40 million. And we think he's fucking brilliant. It's Joe Linton.
Well done, Chris. Love it, Chris. So yeah, that led us to halftime. And of course, this is where I'm going to stop talking, lads, for a while, because there he is in the chat. There's Chris. But because what happened is my stream went down for a while, and when it came back, it was off and on. So I actually missed the Bruno goal, but I did see a clip of it then. But do you want to talk? Anyone want to talk us through the Bruno goal?
Go on, Pete. I'll just go through these comments, mate.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was kind of a little bit of helping hand from an ex Newcastle player in Tim Krul. Always had the knack of giving the ball away unnecessarily, and Agent Krul was at again, helping out the black and white boys. Not that we needed it, but yeah, he goes to play the ball out just about 25 yards out, directly down the middle of his own goal. Bruno is kind of shaped to run away to press the other guy on the right, then darted to his left, nicked the ball in front of the player, and it's just world class. There's no other way to explain the goal. It is world class. I was showing my daughter it, the replay, and I said to her, "Have a look at it 2 or 3 times. It's the little kind of dummy that he gives that just sits Krul down on the floor, which is just world class. Like, he just gives that little dummy, and then the nice little chip over him, bounces nicely into the middle of the goal. Again, it's just a world class finish. There is no other way of describing it. And he even runs off and gives the old Ronaldinho celebration, which after he has the ears, but it's the old Ronaldinho celebration, paying homage to one of the greatest ever, and then obviously points his name to the back of his shirt in front of the travelling faithful, who I've got to say were outstanding today. One of the loudest, watching the game live, one of the loudest away fans performances of the season. There's no doubt about it. Gutted not to be in there, but it was fantastic and a great goal all round, a well worked goal all round. I think it just gives us everything we need to know about this football team at the moment.
Okay, so thanks for that, Pete. Yeah, I can't really comment on much of the rest of the match, so I'll loop around to you for that in a second. But the end result was 3-0. That was which took us up to 9th position in the table, and we'll look at the table in a while. But yeah, homage to the boys from Brazil. And Bruno has his magic hat. He took the magic hat out, so that's nice to see. And of course, yeah, the last one to give the traveling fans a little clap as well. Cue then, because I got another little clip of heading back towards the dressing room. Everyone's in the dressing room waiting for one man, and here he is. The love, the passion, they all love J7. What a turnaround for the man. Really, it really is amazing.
You know what I love about that, guys? You know what I love about that? It's and I've really come to love this guy more and more and more week in, week out. And it's good old Mad Dog Tyndall, our assistant manager. I just love the way, if you watch that clip again, I just love the way as Joe Linton's just about to enter, he kind of just shoves him into the changing room. Get in there. I just love it. And the way in which he interacts with the players. Saw it at Leicester, saw it again at Palace on Wednesday after the game, the way he kind of like congratulates them, the way he kind of like just really nurtures them, makes them feel $1 million. It seems like a really small thing, but that's massive for players.
Yeah,
that's the difference between assistant managers and coaches that do that. Don't want to keep comparing to our previous ones because we know they weren't good enough, but it's chalk and cheese in terms of what he does. Just Mad Dog, absolute legend. Love the guy. Love the guy.
Yeah, and I heard Shelby's interview as well, and I think there during the week, I think it was during the weekend, where he just said that the first thing Eddie Howe did was wanted them to write down their wives, their partners, and their kids' names and birthdays and everything like that. So he just wants to get to know them, and just as you said, Pete, the little things that make a difference and make it kind of feel like a family, and it just adds to the united theme that's running throughout everything we do now since the takeover. So then cue the obligatory team photo. So here it is in the away dressing room, of course, this time. So there's Trippier. He's in the front. I only glanced at this earlier. I didn't take a proper look.
He's got his boots on. If you look, he's got his boots on. So
there's someone else's legs.
No,
they're Darlow's. He's got black shoes on.
Yeah, he's got black shoes on.
Oh, you know what? I thought for a split second, when I looked at him, I looked down, I was like, is he wearing boots? I was thinking, is he going for like a warm down?
Pete, how much brand have you already had, mate?
No, it was just
I'm joking, mate. I'm joking.
A quick glance. But, look, let's face it, he's going to have his boots on very shortly. Anyway, I think he'll be good to go within the next week or so. But it was just on that quick glance, I was thinking, are they his leggings? He's wearing boots because some players do that. They'll be part of the warm down after games when we see managers getting interviewed on the pitch. I thought you might have been involved in that, which was giving me a little bit of confidence. But he'll be back anyway, very very soon. So I'm not worried about that. Great picture though. Great picture.
Yeah, it is great. Another great picture. Okay, so look at what's your thoughts on the game overall? Richie, we'll go with you first. What are your thoughts on the game?
Do you know what? I thought it was just a good, solid performance. I think it was, we had the 3 changes as you mentioned at the start, Daz, and I think it was great that other lads were given a run out as well. To be fair, I was a little bit surprised that when we saw the changes and we didn't have a out and out striker. Go on and have the breaking news and Daz.
Sorry, Richie. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Richie, but the man is back. He's back. He's put the crayons down for 5 minutes and he's going to join us. Welcome, Chris.
Hey! Get in, boys.
Get in.
Get in. Sorry, Rich.
It's all right, mate.
Mid-flow there.
Back to you, Richie.
We had to give you the extra 30 minutes to powder your nose, mate. How? No, seriously. I think when we actually saw when the team was announced, and I think Chris put in our chat that it was, we didn't know how it was going to line up really because we didn't have like an out and out centre forward on lined up. Obviously, Wood was on the bench, and it sort of floated between Joe Linton up there and Sam in the middle as well. So it was intriguing to see how that was going to work, but. There was a good chance early on for Murphy, which he probably kicked himself looking back at it and should have done better. And it was a bit. I think I listened to the first 20 minutes in the car on the radio, and it just seemed to come across a bit scrappy. And that's something that John Anderson mentioned as well on the commentary. And that's just I think once I got sat down and I think I caught it just before about 5 minutes before the first goal. It was fantastic build-up play by Kraft and Murphy down that right-hand side. And do you know what? It was nice to see us get a little bit of luck. The ball fell to Joe Linton off that. The fullback came in and couldn't get a full touch. He literally just put it right into the path of Joe Linton. And you've got to say it was an absolute hell of a finish. The way he executed that, nobody was stopping that today. It was just. And then the first thing he did was he looked where he was on the ground and he turned around straight away. On the barge to the fans, and he's just loving life at Newcastle, and he's appreciating everything that's going on the pitch, in the stands, behind the scenes. Obviously, he's become really good mates with Bruno as well, so that's helping them blossom as well. And to get 2 goals on your 100th appearance, he couldn't have probably asked for it. Well, you probably wish he could have got a hat trick, but I think if you told him before the game, you've got. 2 goals on your 100th games, you would have took that there and then. Do you know what I mean? So, and then we go on for the second goal as well. You have to be there at the right place. Do you know what I mean? And I think we got a little bit of look at the when Hanley tried to block the cross and it fell straight. But you've got to be in the right place at the right time. And it was nice to see Joel having that little striker instinct for a change and following up. I think there's been times when we've been critical of some of the attackers not following the ball in for the second ball. So it was nice to see that. And then, you go into Bruno's goal and I said, no, I did put in our WhatsApp chat, was a fantastic assist by Tim Krul. It was just absolutely phenomenal. But to be fair, I think, watching the game, nobody on earth would have seen that finish from Bruno. You're thinking he's got all the goal earmarked. Which corner is he going to put it in? And you wouldn't have thought he was going to cut with a magical little finish. It was absolutely exquisite. It really, really was. And after that, I think obviously ASM was a little weary. You had that yellow card, and he was having a few little fouls and stuff like that. So he couldn't really, commit himself. But I tell you what, I was impressed with ASM today. I thought his final ball, he was always looking to get that pass, and I thought that was miles better than it has been in recent weeks. He was trying to get people in, and there's a couple of times today where he probably could have been and should have been a bit more selfish, but wasn't. But you know what? I thought it was a fantastic all-round team performance. Another 3 points, 9th place in the Premier League. Who would have thought of that at the 1st of December?
Exactly, Richie. Chris, we'll let you have a little chat as well. What did you think of the game, Chris?
Just, do you know what? I was a bit speechless then. Like, I can't believe that we've managed to put a performance like that in. I mean, we normally, it was funny when we were talking about this over a week ago. I was saying I felt more confident about the Palace game than I did the Norwich game. And I thought today, especially when I seen the lineup, I thought, here's one where, we could be in for a tough afternoon here. But do you know what? And it'll be interesting later on when we get to man of the match. There was so many good performances today. I mean, yeah, as you've got up there, Daz, there was a lot of players who I personally wouldn't have picked today. But the nice thing is we can trust this manager, and we're all fully behind him, and the players are all fully behind him. You can see that. Even the subs later on in the game, we wouldn't have expected some of those players to be playing. We saw Dwight Gale get a run out again. We saw Matt Ritchie come on. Really pleased for Miggy. I was pleased Miggy got on, because I must admit, before the match I was a bit disappointed he hadn't started. Because he gets his first goal in a long time. Fantastic goal as well, by the way. When he didn't start, I was a bit gutted for him. But just to carry on really from what Richie was saying, I mean that finish from Joe Linton, like, I don't know what Eddie did to Joe Linton today, but he just looked he looked like a proper forward, didn't he? And I know he's been playing central midfield, but I tell you what, and I don't know whether any of you lads have already touched on this. Apologies for being late, by the way. I found the first 10, 15, 20 minutes really
interchanging.
All the time. And I was thinking, hang on. So Joe's the number 9. Then Willock was the number 9. Then Maxi was the number 9. And I was thinking, what's going on? But maybe that was part of a new tactic, where the defenders for the opposing team didn't know who they were marking, didn't know who to go to. And eventually they cracked, didn't they? And just to follow on from what Richie said, like that goal from Bruno was just it was just silly. It was absolutely silly to have the composure and just to be able to dink it, and then the celebration. It was just great. And so somebody wrote in the chat. Then I'm gonna bring it up because that's exactly what I said earlier on. Hang on, where is it? And people may say I'm going a bit over the top here, but yeah, Marty NUFC instead. Bring on Liverpool. Just bring them on. We've got nothing to fear now. And I tell you what, Jurgen Klopp and that Liverpool team will not look forward to coming to St James's Park. I tell you that. They will not be looking forward to it because the fans are bouncing, the players are bouncing, everything's in our favour at the moment. And I just hope that we just go and have a good go at them. We've got nothing to fear. We've literally just got to go out there and just try and get them a game. And the big one for me, or certainly what I'll be looking out for, is I'm looking forward to seeing how Bruno deals with the midfield, because obviously Liverpool are a top quality side. So it'll kind of be a little bit of a litmus test for us as well. I mean, some people would argue that we've had quite a reasonable run of fixtures in terms of they are winnable games. You can only beat what's in front of you, and I'm not taking away anything from Eddie Howe or the players, but when you test yourself against the best, let's kind of see where we are, because I think we're a hell of a lot of a different side than what we were last year. This year we just look rejuvenated, and I can't wait. I can't wait to watch the Liverpool game.
Nice one, Chris. Pete, I know the lads are kind of talked about already. It's Anthony, you want to highlight from the game that you normally kind of pick out something that the rest of us don't see. So, Anthony, you want to now put under pressure. Anthony, you want to say?
No, not at all. I've got a couple of things. Just watching the game today, you're quite right. It started quite slow. I mean, it was slow for our standards, the way we've been playing recently. But actually, our slow standards were still matching Norwich's standards. But for me, it was the players that had come in needed a little bit of time to just get up to speed with the game. Lascelles hasn't played for so long. Longstaff hasn't started a game for quite a while. Murphy hadn't started for a while. You know, the changes they'd made, Williker was coming back into the team. And I felt like, with Joe Linton playing as that in that Wood role, I think everyone needed a little bit of time to adjust to the way in which we were playing. When you got your set 11 and you just know what you're doing and you just go out and do it because you know the system, you know what your job is. People's jobs were different today, and I think it took them a while to get used to that. But we still managed Norwich really well. I think the game changed on a big moment. Now, and I noticed this just before we scored, in that, Chris, you've alluded to it as well. We were very much interchanging, but it was whenever we were at a set position, it was always very clear just before the goal that Joe Linton was the mainline striker. What Eddie Howe did, and he tweaked it. What he did, he put Joe on the left, ASM through the middle. That for me it turned the game on its head. And it effectively did that for Joe Linton. If you watch the game back about a minute or two, just before we scored the goal, he switches Joe Linton to the left-hand side and puts ASM through the middle. Now, what you find with that is, you talked about it in the chat, Chris, absolutely right. Great move with Kraft and Murphy, great interlink, but ASM receives the ball in the middle of the pitch, plays it out to Joe Linton, who effectively scores the goal. Joe Linton wouldn't have been in that position if he was the mainline striker. That was the key difference in the game. That opened it up. It was an outstanding finish from Joe Linton. Underrated. The ball coming at that angle, pretty much at some point behind him, he's managed to whip the ball back, get a great whip on it and beat the goalkeeper, all ends up. It was a great goal. But it was that tactical difference that Eddie Howe had compared to Dean Smith that made the difference in the game. And it did. And it tipped the game on its head, because a few minutes later, we break again with Murphy through the middle. Just a world-class ball from Bruno Gomes, again, as we've come to expect. But it's that little smart move across that Jacob Murphy knows that he's playing it to Joe Linton. He gets pressured into it, though, because the defender does track him quite well. Comes across to Joe again. Joe on the left-hand side. If Howe had not made that tweak, Joe Linton wouldn't have been there to receive the ball. And then you can maybe argue, would ASM have finished that off? Would he have been in that position? Would he have been in the position for the first goal? You could argue that. But Joe Linton was there. Reason being is because he was moved. He was moved into that position. If you remember, if you look at the rest of the game, he effectively plays on the left for the rest of the game. And he played very, very well on that left-hand side. And I'm surprised that a lot of the pundits and a lot of the commentators that were watching the game hadn't noticed it. Nobody did. I listened to Tim Sherwood, who was, I don't watch Gillette Soccer Saturday, but I thought, let me hear what the thoughts are of Gillette Soccer Saturday. You guys know what my opinions are of Gillette Soccer Saturday. I don't rate it, but I wanted to hear their opinions on that. Tim Sherwood didn't mention it at all. He didn't notice the tweak. He wants to be a manager in the Premier League. He wants to be a coach.
He was a manager.
If I could see that, surely he can see that if he's commentating on the game. He clearly didn't. But that switch with a couple of minutes just changed the game, and it just made Norwich have to think differently, because ASM stretches defenders in ways that Joe Linton doesn't.
Just on that one, on Pete, because I'll let you continue. Just want to touch on some. I wonder, did Eddie Howe make that switch, because it might have been in an attacking sense, but more a defensive one. Because I remember at two occasions ASM was kind of back in the left back slot. He was doing some defending and tracking back, but he was just, you don't want him back there. He's a bit dodgy. So maybe the switch was maybe Joe Linton put more of a kind of a blocker on there and be able to kind of more defensive. So that could have been in his mind as well, rather than attacking, and it just worked out in an attacking sense then. But sorry, Pete.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And look, Joe Linton, Chris Wood plays that role really well. I think Stu Penman, friend of the channel, tweeted out during the game actually and said, if anyone realises something about Chris Wood, if anyone realised why Chris Wood is so important to Newcastle, check out these first 33 minutes. And you realise why Chris Wood plays such an important role in this setup. And we missed him. Joe Linton, I didn't think had a great period of time as that mainline striker, is what the pundits are talking about. They saw the starting lineup and just assumed that he played up there for 90 minutes. He didn't. And the time that he was up there, I think he was easily managed. He won a few flick-ons, he held the ball up here and there, but he wasn't really stretching the defenders in the way in which I think Eddie Howe wanted him to, which is why he moved over there. You're going to get your defensive duties from him, but it was to unlock Joe Linton and unlock ASM. And I think that's maybe why they did it. But it was a great tactical move. It opened up the game. Once we got the first goal and then quickly the second goal, for me, the game was done. There was no way that Norwich were going to break us down after that point. They don't score enough goals. If you keep Timo Pukki quiet, which is what we did, you don't score goals. And on away days on Thursday, Connor, who came and joined us from the Pink and the Norwich Evening News, he mentioned that is that if you keep Timo Pukki quiet, you stop Norwich playing, and that's exactly what we did. But what we then saw is the masterclass of Bruno Guimaraes, the dictating of the play, the control of the game. He just makes things so easy for other players in this team. He elevated the game of Joe Willock. He elevated the game of Sean Longstaff. He just makes players play better. He is supremely talented. I'm not surprised that the links are out with Real Madrid and all the rest of it we've talked about. I'm not surprised. Is he going nowhere? No, he's not. We don't need to sell anybody anymore. The players that leave the club for Newcastle United moving forward are the players that we want to move forward for Newcastle United. For me, that's the way it is. But it's great to have a player that those big teams want. They're not going anywhere. And he was outstanding. Bruno Guimaraes is a supremely talented player. And we haven't seen the best of him yet. He obviously scores that outrageous goal that we've already talked about. And by then the game's done, and it was almost, I remember on the 53rd, 54th minute, there was olays from the away fans. There was probably, I think there was 40 odd passes that were being made that were being olayed every time they were being passed. And it was just like, it was great for us as away fans and us watching the game, but how heart destroying would that be for the Norwich players and the fans seeing that and knowing they couldn't do anything about it? Dan Burn came into his own. I thought Jamal Lascelles, after he got over that first 10 minutes, I thought he was very good, very solid. You could see him getting the defence up. You could see him visibly showing his captain skills, something that we've talked about a lot that he didn't show in recent weeks and months. He was doing that today. The confidence came back into his game. It just, the confidence flown within the team. It was, I'm not going to talk any more than that because we kind of really quite easily seen out the game. We could have scored 4 or 5 in the end. We'd have had a decent chance. I tweeted out earlier, I said, ruthless from Newcastle United, and it was a ruthless performance with major changes being made in the team. We still looked a ruthless team, which is frightening, I think, with what's to come in the next 5 to 6 months with the transfer window and the new season.
Exactly, Pete. Good times ahead. Roll on the good times. Right, let's look at our man of the match. So I'll start off. For me, I'm going J7. The 2 goals, the performance he put in, his 100th appearance. It's all walking into the dressing room, everyone congratulating him from where he was. I think people were even before today, they were calling him for player of the season for us, and he'll definitely be a player of the season. If the season started in January, then Bruno would probably be the player of the season, but Joe Linton, player of the season for me, and man of the match today. I'll keep it simple with that one. Would like to go next?
Go on, Pete.
No, I've just talked about 10 minutes.
Fine, no.
We'll bring Richie back in. Go for it.
Go on, Mitch.
Do you know what? I have to agree with you. I think Joe Linton was absolutely phenomenal today. I really do. As Pete mentioned, the switch of between from the middle and go back out left. He looked like he was so at home and all that space he was having on the left hand side as well. And to be aware of the space he was, especially for the first one where he could have ran towards the back post, but he held his run, hoping the ball was going to come across the box, which it did, and also the positioning, as we mentioned before, following the shot in. From the Murphy effort that Hanley sort of blocked. And as we said, we haven't had players who have been following them in, and so I think that's just that confidence. That's Joe Linton's getting back in. We look solid across the back. Dubravka made a fantastic save in the second half from the free kick, which was good at the top corner. It was a fantastic save, but bar that he didn't really have much to do. Bruno was fantastic again. As me and Pete discussed the other day on away days. The subtle changes of direction, which confuses the players. It's Newcastle aren't predictable to play against anymore. We don't just face a direction, we pass that direction. There's those little cute, intricate little balls, or we can change the direction. As we said, and it was fantastic. And as I said, if the season started in January, you've got to probably say that Bruno would be up there with, for player of the season. But it's I think that's one of the things you hope he's going to continue next year when he comes in, and then hopefully there's a couple of people said in the chat tonight. Hopefully his friends playing alongside him as well, and they like to have a friendly competition for player of the year between them, each other and stuff like that. But not for me today. I thought Joe Linton was outstanding, and he thoroughly deserved man of the match and the 2 goals on his 100th appearance for Newcastle.
Cheers, Rich. Before we go to you, Chris, I'm going to do 2 things. First thing I'm going to do is say, hit that subscribe button, bottom right-hand corner if you're watching it back, and if make sure you hit the like button as well. It helps us push it up the algorithm. 212 people watching, so hit it now. Then, before I go to you, Chris, and I'm not going to try and put any pressure on your selection, but I'm just going to do this.
Hey, it's Brazilian. He only costs 40 million. And we think he's fucking brilliant. It's Joe Linton.
Now, Chris, who are you selecting for your man of the match?
Yeah. Do you know what? It was funny as soon as I said that on, and then you wrote you wrote in the chat, great, I've got a new voice note thing or something. And I was like, oh, but no, I completely agree with yourself and Rich. It's got to go to Joe Linton. I thought Joe Linton was absolutely outstanding today, and as Rich said, on his 100th appearance for the club, He's been a revelation, hasn't he, since Eddie Howe's come in, and he's literally doing. It feels at times like he's doing the job of like 2 people. Like I know people say that about Kante as well, but he just epitomizes what we are as a club now. The effort and the way that he's turned things around, and I couldn't be more pleased for him. So for me, it has to be Joe Linton as man of the match. But big shout out to Bruno. I mean, I can't remember the last time I was this excited about a player. In fact, I can. The last time I was this excited about a player was... Well, no. I did love Andy Carroll, as you know, Daz, but no, the last signing that we made, that was really... Carl, I love Carl as well. I did love Carl, but
he's a good player, Carl.
Yeah, he was.
That wasn't it. We all know it was Stefan Givash.
Shit.
Andres Anderson.
Oh my god.
The last time I was this excited about a player that we signed was Hatem Ben Arfa. And you just know he oozes class, and that's exactly what Bruno does. for us to have him in our team is just so exciting. And going into next season, I mean, this is what he's done since he's come in January, and already he looks like he's been here for 3 or 4 years. And for us to have him and know, as Pete said, that everybody else wants him and everybody else is feeling right now that they've missed a trick. I mean, you've just had Bruno, and I'm not just using this as a name comparison, you've just had Bruno Fernandes just sign a new deal at Man United, and he's rumoured to be on something like 200-300 grand a week. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. And then we've got Bruno Guimaraes there, who has totally embraced the club, embraced the city, and he's absolutely loving being here. And it kind of leads on to, the show that Pete was doing the other night on the away days with Rich. And later on in the show, they were talking about Lucas Paqueta. And I tell you what, Lucas Paqueta is going to be looking at our club now, as will many other potential signings, and think, I want a bit of that. I'd fancy having a go at that. I mean, the way the Newcastle fans are, we all know, and I don't think this is biased, we are one of, if not the best set of fans in the country. And who wouldn't want to come and play in the Premier League at Newcastle? I mean, yeah, just look at that picture. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And, it's fully deserved. And I think it just leaves you wanting more, doesn't it? We're going to go into the summer. I mean, the fully loaded transfer show is going to be back in full swing. We're going to be talking all things Newcastle, all transfers. And I personally can't wait for it. I literally can't wait. August can't come soon enough. Because when that season kicks off, it's just going to be unreal. And who knows where we can go? Who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got to be Joe Linton.
Nice one, Chris. Yeah, and as he's mentioned, the fully loaded transfer show will be back. Sean Casey will be back. He's busting to get on and come talk to us as well. He's got something up his sleeve, so that will be interesting. So
I've got to say on that, Daz, you've got to give a shout out to Sean for his tweet yesterday that we actually retweeted, saying what he said. He picked up that the changes of Lascelles, Willock, and I think it was, I can't remember who the third one was, but he actually turned around and said who was playing yesterday. He got a bit of grief for it, but it was nice to see him. That the reaction for people standing by him when that team was announcing those 3 players were in the team, and a formation change which we saw as well. Sorry, Pete.
No, not at all. I think
Pete, over to you. So for your man of the match, are you going to break from the form guide here? I know you mentioned you had a few up your sleeve. What's your thoughts?
I couldn't possibly go for anyone else other than Joe Linton. I think he deserves it more than anything. 2 goals in a game, the 2 goals that effectively win the game, the change in formation. He's played in 2 different positions today and affected the game in which won the game. Played very, very well once he switched over. Was part of the old Brazilian, magic show, shall we say, when they were celebrating with the hat and the flag. You already had the picture on. He's just kind of, he's a part of it all, and he was fantastic today. And fully deserved it. It's maybe a little bit harsh on Bruno, because Bruno really did dictate the game. He was world class. But it's kind of like, as Newcastle fans are already kind of expecting, that's what Bruno does now. It's kind of, and I feel bad saying that because it's not something that we're accustomed to. That's not the norm for us to have a player like that. But Joe Linton has to get that today. And I just wanted to add, Chris, you made a good point about the away fans, and Daz, you had a great picture of the away fans. Some of the videos, one of the lads in the Geordies Down South chat was at the game today, Uggs, and he put some videos in the chat, and the atmosphere in there just looked amazing, really, really good. But as well as that, when you've got good away fans, when you see tweets from Norwich fans telling us that we're the best fans that they've seen all season, and going to Carrow Road, and there's been so many out there on social media, and Newcastle fans are by far the best that we've seen this season. Fantastic fans, amazing fans, blah, 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 blah. And that tells you everything you need to know. We're sitting in 9th place. Just imagine if we move up the table next season, how we're going to be as a fan base, how we're going to follow our team over a course of a season. It's so exciting. Joe Linton, the main man, 100%.
We've got a clean sweep for Joe Linton, J7. Nice one. And now that might send a signal. Get him in the Brazil squad as well. Get him winning the World Cup. Get him getting top
Tell you
goal
what,
scorer.
you're still
Then we can talk
shouting
about
for
that
this tattoo. I've got to
Then we
say,
can
you're
talk
still
about
pushing
that
for this
tattoo.
tattoo, Daz.
I'm getting worried. It gets more and more likely as the days go on, actually, Richie. Pete mentioned the table. Let's look at the table. Here it is. So now I've got to stretch up to the we're no longer down the bottom here because it's EIO. Up the Premier League we go. So yeah, we're up into 9th spot, the dizzy heights of 9th spot. Like next season, I'm calling for us to break into the top 8 or to finish around 8th. And I'm just setting a nice little target. We're in 9th now after the disastrous start we had this season with Bruce and everything like that. So yeah, and look at nice 4 green ticks there. I love to see that. So what do you and big day tomorrow, lads? And if we even talk about the relegation, big Liverpool, Everton playing Liverpool, Burnley playing Wolves, isn't it tomorrow? So interesting. And Watford got a heavy defeat today with Man City, so they look gone. And our City are gone as well. It's just a big battle here. Thoughts on the table? Will we go with you again, so Richie first?
What can you say? As I said before, you would never have pictured that on the 1st of December, would you? What last time Norwich came, we were bottom of the league, hadn't had a win all season, and then you look now, and it's just absolutely phenomenal to see. We've seen it a couple of times under Rafa where we scraped into the 10th, 11th on the last game of the season if results went our way and stuff like that. But it's just fantastic to see that everybody's galvanized and just looking up for a change. And all these, there's been a few people who will start a few comments about some of the Sky pundits, saying tonight that Brentford was safe, but Newcastle are still going to be concerned about looking over the shoulder. You think, how?
What?
What have they smoked before they went on the show? Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing. There's not a cat and out. We've been safe for weeks. We were safe 3 games ago. It's. I know it wasn't mathematical, but Yano's just put down at the bottom there. Yeah, not mathematical yet, but I can't see any of the ones that will going on a run. Do you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? It's like it's going to be interesting tomorrow's games. You know what I mean? Burnley, Everton, but in an ideal world, I'd love Everton to go down just because some of the fans are, some of the things they've said to us over the years and stuff like that, and the jip we've been given. But it's nice to be looking up, and why can't we go on a really good run? We've got Liverpool next week, and there's some fantastic comments coming next week about the spectacle of watching Bruno go up against Thiago and their midfield and stuff like that. It's like mouth watering. Do you know what I mean? And they've got some Champions League fixtures either side of ours, and it's really, really interesting. Do you know what, Liverpool? Coming to Newcastle next week, the fortress we've got, it's 6 wins on the belt. We could technically ruin their Premier League title chances next week. I know they're on a good run of form themselves in the Premier League, like Man City, but bar that, Arsenal have started to turn a corner the last couple of results, but Newcastle, Liverpool, and Man City are the 3 form teams in the Premier League at the minute. So they've got to cut Russ, and we owe Liverpool a few things for a few seasons in the past when they've hindered us from progressing. Like I think someone mentioned in the chat about the 95-96 season still lives long in the memory sort of thing. So you know what? I can't wait. I'm just so glad I'm going as well. I'm just really, really looking forward to it.
Oh, you had to get that in there, Richie.
Well, to be fair, mate, I did have to wait 2.5 hours in the frigging queue for it, so I might as well have got that in, mate. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I know that you the lads would have been there as well if you could have, and but yeah, it'll still be great to watch on that. Do you know what? Why not close the gap on Wolves and let's see if we can hunt them down?
6 points.
Yeah, they have 2 games in hand, but yeah. And yeah, it'd be nice to see some X's appearing up here for Liverpool and Man City. Now, Chris, I'm going to ask you a different question. I'm going to ask you, what's the atmosphere going to be like in your house if Everton do go down?
Yeah, do you know what? I'm kind of torn, really, Daz, because like Richie, I would. Part of me would like Everton to go down because obviously, of the rivalry that's been built up over the last 3, 4, 5 years, the jealousy that clearly shines through from Everton fans towards us. But then the other side of me is like, obviously I'll have a couple of members in my household very upset, and a few really good friends really upset. And the Premier League, to be fair, I don't think the Premier League would be the same without Everton, because they have been in the top flight for forever. And I don't. Do you know what? I'm going to be the bigger person. I don't. It's not nice, is it, to see other clubs go down, because we know what it's like, and it is the worst thing in the world. So whoever goes down will deserve to go down, whether it's Everton or Burnley. I saw a tweet, I think it was yesterday, from someone saying that they feel that Leeds could be still in it. And I mean, for me, I think Leeds get out of it. I think they only need probably 4 more points. So I don't even class Leeds as being in it, if I'm honest, because I don't think they're going to have any problems. I think they will pick up points. But what was interesting, what you were talking about earlier, lads, about being mathematically safe. Obviously, I couldn't be bothered to work it out, but I think we are technically mathematically safe, because in order for us to go down, everybody else would have to win. And I'm not sure that everyone could win, if that makes sense. There's probably people are probably playing each other and stuff, so we are technically mathematically safe, I'd say, because what have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, all 8 teams would have to win, and other teams, like obviously the top 8 would have to lose against them, and if they were all playing each other, and I'm sure they're probably not. But either way, we know we're safe, don't we? And that's the main thing. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting tomorrow. And ironically, I'm looking forward to the Burnley Wolves game more so than the derby, because I think that's going to play a key factor. I think most Everton fans will hold their hands up and say that they're fully expecting to get beat tomorrow. But if Burnley draw or beat Wolves, and Everton are in the bottom 3, and then it's whether or not they can drag themselves out of it, because it's going to be a big ask. I mean, Burnley have been rejuvenated since the caretaker manager come in, and I think they've picked up 4 points from the last 2 games, and they'll be bang up for it tomorrow. And it's whether or not Wolves are. I mean, Everton are lucky because Wolves have still got a very slim hope of getting into Europe. So Wolves will hopefully, you would think, try and give them a game. Whereas that Southampton game, I don't know if anybody watched it, but that Burnley Southampton game was atrocious. If you were a Southampton fan, you'd be fuming, because they
Do you know what, Chris? I was just going to say that about Southampton. They're lucky they've got the points on the board that they have, because they would be in deep shit the way they're playing at the minute.
God, yeah. Yeah, they've literally just lied down. If you were Ralph Hasenhüttl, you saw him going off the pitch at the end, and he looked absolutely raging. It's as if all the players have just gone, "Oh, we're all right." But you don't want that at the end of the season. You want to try and push, and you know how much money the places mean. And if Southampton had won against Burnley, which you would expect them to, they'd be sitting on 42 points right now. So
Southampton did it last year, Chris. They did exactly the same last year. I think it was around November time. They're in the top 4 last season, and they ended up. I think they ended up in and around us, because they just went on a massive downer. And this is 2 seasons in a row they've done it now, where they have a great start to the season and they look like they're flying high, and then all of a sudden they just fall flat on their faces. And they've done it again. And they've been very lucky that they've not got into a relegation battle. One of the lads that I work with, that play golf with on a regular basis, that he's a massive Southampton fan, and he goes to a lot of the games, and he says the same thing. He's like, we are lucky that our early season form keeps us out of a relegation battle. They've been very, very lucky. They really have. But,
Chris, before we just go to Pete, it'd be amazing actually if it goes down to the last game of the season. You'd be surprised how many Newcastle fans you'll find around your parts, the world, if it goes down to that last game. But Pete, your thoughts on the table?
So yeah, I mean, I don't really care too much for the bottom 4 teams, if I'm honest.
Your focus is here.
Yeah. I think our focus is slightly higher than that now, which is great to talk about now. I think Michael in the chat has said, from a bottom 4 point of view, that I talked about on away days very passionately about my wish for Everton to stay in the league, because I really value them as a Premier League club, or maybe not. So I actually think Everton are going to go down. I think they'll get relegated this season. You look at the fixtures that are coming up. Chris has already talked about the Burnley Wolves game. I actually expect Burnley to win tomorrow, and I expect Everton to get hammered, and goal difference is going to play a huge part in that, which Burnley are already winning that race as it is. And if they do get hammered by Liverpool, their goal difference is going to get hammered even further, and that could be a key component between now and the end of the season. So just my little snippet on that. I think if Burnley don't win, then we are mathematically safe tomorrow. I think that's how it. I think however it works. I've not looked at the points and how it totals up, but I think if they don't win tomorrow, we're mathematically safe. But yeah, my thoughts are further up the table. And you guys have alluded to it already earlier on, and I'll talk about this. But I've got a question for you guys as well, and everyone in the chat just after that. If you just want to get your thoughts, but if you go further up the table where we are, which is great to say, mid-table as it is, top half. Eddie's top half, Mags. So look, we're 9th spot, 6 points behind Wolves, which. Are we going to catch Wolves? Probably not, but it's great to see us in that conversation. I think that we're in a position where we are in the shop window for a lot of clubs, like Chris alluded to earlier. And we are, not just Lucas Paqueta, but I think a lot of top European players that are maybe looking at moving on or looking at Newcastle United right now and thinking, right, they're having a great resurgence. They're winning matches. They've got an ownership. They've got a manager that knows what he's doing. He's not just doing the business with the players in the squad, but he's doing the business with the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, who's seen as a Champions League worthy, world-class talent. He's managing him as well. So if they're looking at that and thinking, well, Bruno Guimaraes is doing the business and he's clearly getting the best out of Bruno Guimaraes as a manager, Eddie Howe. Because let's face it, a lot of European players won't know who Eddie Howe is. Sounds disrespectful, but it's just the reality. But they'll be looking at Eddie Howe now and saying, he obviously knows what he's doing. He's a
Trippier to come back in as well. Another world-class player.
Trippier will come back in. It's looking less and less likely that Wilson will play this season. But again, you've got top level players that will be looking at this club. There is no doubt about it. And players that we thought were out of our reach going into the summer may well start to change in their tune about Newcastle United and where they see us. But the question I had to you, to all of you, in fact, was we were having a conversation, like I said, on the Geordies Down South chat, and Segs, one of the guys, raised a really good point. It was a really, really good talking point. And he was kind of like, in his mind, he was like, obviously you've got the top 6, you've got the top 7 effectively if you throw sort of like West Ham in there. And they're relatively set. And we're maybe 2 or 3 years away from that. But are we? Really? and that's the question that I want to pose to you, is that you look at West Ham doing what they've done over the last couple of years. You look at Wolves fighting for Europe in the table that Daz just put up there, 8th in the table, fighting for Europe, a few points off, but still in there fighting. Is it wrong to think that maybe next season, with improvements, that we can go straight for the jugular and be challenging for Europe? I don't know what your thoughts on that are. I'm putting it out there for you guys in the panel, for you guys in the chat. What do you think?
I'm going to jump in first here, Pete, and I'm going to say, yes, it's wrong to be thinking like that, but I'm going to think like that, but say nothing to anyone else. I'm going to. That's why I'm saying manage my expectations. I'm saying 8th. If we finish 8th next season, I'll be delighted. But as I said on the show with you the other night, I'm going to have a sneaky little bet that we could try and get into that top 4, depending on what kind of signings we make. But I'm not saying that publicly to anyone that'll ever play
on
back
a
or anything like that. No, never. So I'm safe. So, so I'm not thinking like that at all, Pete. No.
Okay, so for everyone in the chat, Daz is saying it's so wrong, but it's so right at the same time. That's basically what he's saying.
It's so wrong, but it feels so right.
Yeah, that.
Go on, Mitch.
Boys? Richie, Chris, come on.
Do you know what? I actually, it's one of these where you wish the season had started in January, because you could comfortably turn around and say the way the run Newcastle are going on, as if we were halfway through a season now, you would probably say yes. But what you've got to look at is obviously there's a summer coming, and then stuff like that. You want to hope that Newcastle will hit the ground running with all the new signs. And the one thing that could possibly derail it is, depending on how many signings come in, how long they may take to gel when they come in. Because we were lucky with the ones we came in January. We got some that were Premier League ready, were already up to speed because that had a full pre-season and stuff like that, and they knew what was expected. And Kieran Trippier wasn't deluded when he came and some of the stuff he said. He knew what we could do. Dan Burn, you already knew he was going to be giving you 110% as soon as he came in because he was a homegrown lad and always wanted to wear the black and white shirt. We know Bruno was a good player. We didn't know how long he was going to take to settle in the league. Luckily, he settled in straight away within a few weeks, really, if you're being realistic on that one. Chris Wood knew the league, and so did Matt Targett. So you've got to look at, depending on where we get signings from, if we've got some more Premier League experienced ones who know what the league is about, there's a good chance that they'll gel straight away. I think it's more about, if you've got someone like Lucas Paqueta who does come in, which we're hoping happens, you would imagine he'll gel pretty quickly because you've got his best friend at the club already. You've already got Joe Linton, who's a Brazilian as well. So you're going to have that nice little, there'll be content, know each other, make each other welcome and stuff. So they're not going to feel as though they're possibly like an outcast in a squad. So it all depends on any other potential foreigners that might come in, how long they take. But if they gel straight away and Eddie can keep, hit the ground running straight away next season and get, we've always been slow starters, Newcastle, sometimes. And I think if we get off to a good start, all I'd like to say is that I would say is you never know what's possible.
So that's a yes from Richie.
Why not? Seriously,
Yeah.
Why not? If all those happen, why not? Why should we just be continually looking over our shoulder, thinking, are we going to be battling for the relegation? So why? Now we're in this position now, and yes, okay, we're enjoying where we are because we've never been like this for a long time, and we're actually enjoying watching our football, and we're not scraping results to get 3 points and climb the table. We're playing good football. We've got a coach who's very tactical aware. He can change during games and stuff like that. Why not? Why can't we start the season and think, I think someone put in the chat earlier on, and I'll bring this up, that's quite relevant. And it was someone said, what about if Eddie Howe had started this season against West Ham?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Trying to see where it is. I don't know, but where would it be now? Where could Newcastle be now if he'd been in charge when the start of the season? Where could we have been with a full pre-season under? We don't know whether we would have had the same sort of effect as in transfer wise, but you look at what the work he did with Joe Linton and stuff like that, where after he came and Fabian Schär. So if he had had a full pre-season at the start of the season, I don't think it would have been anywhere near the bottom 3, bottom 6 probably. I think we probably could have been mid-table. So then you look at how the second half of the table could have went. We could have been pushing for a Conference League place. Do you know what I mean, sort of thing? And I know that's like
it was Tony
it's Conference League. It's yeah, that's it. And he's right. Where could we have been if Eddie Howe had been at the start of the season? It's going to be nice to see how. I think we discussed it the other day, Pete, away days. How many points Eddie Howe's accrued since he's come in compared to what Steve Bruce did in his first full season. He's done an absolute miracle, and as some of the other commenters said in the chat, he's seriously got to be considered for Manager of the Year.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's now equal.
Totally agree.
He's now equal Bruce's points total. He was at 35 before, and Bruce was at 38 for a full season. They're now neck and neck, 38, and he's managed considerably less amount of games. But it's definitely.
Before you answer, Chris, sympathy to West Brom fans. I saw a tweet or something that Steve Bruce is definitely going to be with them next season. So my commiserations to West Bromwich Albion at this sad time. Chris, are we going to win the league? Top 4 European positions?
Hasn't just gone straight for it.
I know. Do you know what does? It's a funny one because you know, when Pete was talking about it, it's a great question, by the way. And when Pete was talking about it, I was kind of thinking, yeah. And then obviously, you know, you've gave your opinion, Rich gave his opinion. I think for me, there's a few factors, and that will determine whether or not I think it's possible. I think as I sit here right now, why not? That's probably my answer. Why not? You know, we've seen plenty of positives, and there's nothing to suggest that we couldn't do that. But for me, the big ones for me are going to be, it's obviously going to be the transfer window in the summer. I think if we go out and we buy a top striker, and, you know, add to our midfield and bring in a top centre back, and bring someone into challenge to Dubravka, I mean, that's only 4 players. That can make a huge difference to this team right now. I also think as well, which will play a factor, and I know some people may not agree with this, but I think it's how we perform against Liverpool on the 30th, just kind of see where we are. I mean, I look back to the game at Anfield, which I was at, and, you know, we lost 3-1, but so many things went against us that day. And I do believe the game was tighter than what it was. I know someone said in the chat that, you know, we kind of got outplayed. I don't agree with that. I don't think we did. That we had our moments. You know, obviously there was the goal that should have been disallowed when we had a player on the ground in the box. Trent hit that fantastic shot, but then Mike Riley decided to run right in front of it. Just all little things like that. And I just think that my worry and my concern, and people especially know what I'm talking about here, was that second half at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Like that still concerns me. It was out of character, and everyone can have an off day. I can appreciate that, but it was only really when Bruno came on in the second half where we kind of saw that little bit of quality. So that does concern me a little bit. But on the other hand, I think we'll, you know, a full summer, extra players, a brand new season to kickstart with. And we've already spoken about the teams that are, you know, currently sitting 7th, 8th, 9th at the moment. You've got Man United who are on the drop. The people may say they rested Maguire. I don't think they did. I think they've dropped him. You know, Paul Pogba's leaving. Their recruitment's going to be massive this summer. You've got West Ham. I'm sure loads of people in the chat, and I know you lads will have seen that comparison that people made between Declan Rice and Joe Linton. And the stats are very, very, very similar. And that's with Joe Linton only becoming a central midfielder recently. And you think, well, imagine if he played a full season at central midfield. Imagine he'd been playing in central midfield since August. I think he'd absolutely railroses Declan Rice. Then you've got Wolves. You know, I look at the Wolves midfield. You've got João Moutinho. You've got Ruben Neves. Would either of those players get in our central midfield right now?
Nope.
I'd say no. You know, Declan Rice, really talented lad. Not taking that away from him, but, you know, we've saw the stats. We can see what we're up against. Man United, they tend to play in the central midfield, the likes of Fred, the likes of McTominay, the likes of Pogba. I think we'd more than handle that. Arsenal 4th. I mean, this season, I know it's been a bit of an unusual one, but you look at the likes of Arsenal and you think Arsenal are 4th.
Yeah,
so if Arsenal
up
4th,
and down roller coaster.
yeah, exactly. Arsenal 4th in the league. We gave Chelsea, who were 3rd, we gave them a bloody good game, and we got beat 1-0 with a sublime pass. Yeah, the elbow. It was a sublime pass and a fantastic finish from Havertz, but we matched them for a lot of that game. So really, you could argue, like Pete said, what have we got to be afraid of? What are we so worried about? I mean, in previous seasons, we've seen, you know, the big 4 or the top 6 or whatever you want to call them kind of run away with things. But why can't we get in amongst it? I mean, I look at that top 6 now and I think, other than City and Liverpool, none of those teams come to St James's Park and I'd be petrified. I mean, I'm looking forward to the game against Liverpool on the 30th, and they're coming to St James's Park, and you can see the form that they're in. You can see all the competitions they're still in, but they don't worry me. I don't sit here now and think, oh God, we're going to get a pacing against Liverpool. I'm more excited about it, and I think, what can we do against them? How will we match against them? And for me, if we lose that game on the 30th, but it's like a 2-0 or a 2-1, and, you know, we're really in the match, that'll just give me confidence going into next season. My worry is if we see like a repeat performance of the second half against Tottenham and we get absolutely smashed. That's my only concern.
I like, and before Pete answers his own question, I like the way you've played this, Chris. You've either said we're in a relegation battle next season, or we're in a 2-horse race to in the title. Like that. That's a good answer. That's the best answer I've heard.
We're
to that
definitely.
question yet.
I'll tell you now. If we add a couple of signings to this squad and we continue to play the way that we're playing, we'll be in the top 10. I've got no doubt about that at all. It's whether or not we can make that push up. But like I say, if we go, I mean, imagine we go and sign a 15, 20 goal striker next season. Where we'd be and what we could do.
Or a 50 goal striker.
50 goal striker. Hey, get Mitro.
No,
Joe.
don't start.
I knew it. I knew he'd start on bringing.
No,
Mitro
I
back.
was. You know what? I was going to bring up Adam Armstrong before, but I didn't.
You must
He's
have
got
thrown
the
Ivan
injury.
Toney in there while you're there.
Yeah.
Well, he got thrown in, didn't he? People talking about Ivan Toney.
Yeah.
40 million.
Sean is talking about Ivan Toney a lot. I've noticed that.
Hey,
Pete,
I respect Sean's opinion, and you know, obviously, I'm not doubting Sean for 1 minute, but I must admit, if we spent 40 million on Ivan Toney, I would be a little bit concerned, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
but that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Pete's going to answer his own question now.
I need to have words with Charlie Bennett with his Chronicle article.
I've seen that. Yeah, seen that.
I need to have some serious words about him because I do not agree whatsoever. And there's a few reasons why I don't agree with that article. But I'm sure we'll have him on at some point over the next few weeks so I can have it out with him live on Loaded HQ. But I leave that for there.
He's probably watching this now, Pete. He's going to wait till you're not doing the show to come on.
Well, Charlie, we'll do every single show until you turn up. That's my message to you. So you better be there. I'm joking, but yeah, we'll have a chat about it, no doubt, as the weeks go on. But can we break the European mold in only one season? Yeah, why not? And the reason why I say that is because you only have to look at West Ham. West Ham only just stayed up one season with a couple of games to spare in the Premier League, and then the next season ended up with fighting for top 4, like just within one season spin. So if West Ham can do that, obviously they got Jesse Lingard halfway through that enabled them to really kick on. But if West Ham can do that and then they've been able to sustain it to a certain extent for another season, there's no reason why we can't with financial backing. Now, the one thing I'll say with the top 6 that you've got already there, in the top 6 there is the traditional, the modern top 6, not the traditional. The traditional top 6 has us in it, and I've maintained that for a long time. You know, way before the top 6 was a top 6, we were the top 6. But the modern top 6, if you look at that table, it is that top 6 there. However, what you'll find is they're very up and down. So you look at, and Chris, Richie, you've touched on it already. You look at Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United, they're very flimsy. One season they'll be okay, one season they're not. You look at Man United, for example, last season they finished 2nd in the table. Now they're 6th. You know, you look at Arsenal, I think they finished 8th. Now they're looking like they're odds on for top 4. They're so up and down season to season that you can't quite predict what type of season they're going to have, and it will only take one good season for us. And I'll be honest with you, all fans that are watching, you guys in the panel, if we have one good season where we get European football, that allows us to then maintain that. And I mean from a point of view that once we get European football in it, and I think I said it to you, Chris, on the show, I might have said it to you separately, even if we get European Conference, once we're guaranteed that European football in one way, shape or form, the calibre of player comes to us is on a different level because we can offer European football. It makes such a difference. And I think once we get European football and we get that calibre of player coming in, you'll see the team improve. And I'm not saying we're going to go out and buy 6, 7, 8 top level players, but we'll improve the team to a significant level where we can maintain results. That's where you'll see us make that rise. And if we can do that within one season, all that does is bring the project forward by a little bit, by a season or two. And can it happen? Of course. You look at Wolves. Wolves weren't great last season. Now they've been pushing for Europe. You see these teams, it happens all the time. And there's no guarantee that Leicester are going to be at that level. They don't know whether Tielemans is going to be there. Vardy's picking up injuries, not the same player he was before. Are Leicester going to be there? Who knows? Are Wolves going to be able to maintain? Who knows? Are West Ham going to be able to maintain? Who knows? That then gives us the opportunity to go in there. And let's face it, we've been producing Champions League form to be where we are right now over a short period of time. But we don't need to produce Champions League form next season. We just need to be consistently good, that we're picking up results consistently over the course of the season to maintain, first and foremost, like you guys have said, a top-half finish, and then push for more. And I think the way that Eddie Howe's got us playing, even with this current squad, we would be far more consistent next season than we would right now. But yeah, Bobby, Rich, you've just alluded to Bobby's point, and it is a great one. The cups are a great way in, and you know that starting lineup today. I couldn't help but think that starting lineup today, I thought would be a starting lineup that would start the Carabao Cup in September, August, September. That's the type of lineup that I would expect starting the Carabao Cup. Now, if you go back 6-7 months, that was a starting lineup that was starting Premier League matches under our previous manager. That's where the difference is. And I think, you know, I think Eddie Howe's going to go for a cup next season. I think he will. He will go all out for the Carabao Cup. Carabao Cup is the easiest way to get into Europe, in my opinion. A lot of the top teams don't necessarily take it so seriously early on, and some of them get knocked out because they're focused on Champions League football and maintaining a good start in the league. That's where we can get in there and we can expose that. And a lot of teams do. They get to the latter stages on the back of, you know, the other teams not taking it seriously. And we've got the players to hurt other oppositions. The FA Cup's another one as well, but that's obviously later on in the season. I just think have a great opportunity to really kind of put our flag to the mast next season and say, we are here. We want to be top off on a regular basis. This is what we're going to do. You know, sorry, that's what we were going to say.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that we have a bit of an advantage as well. Let's say if we were just to concentrate on that top 9 or whatever it might be, we aren't in Europe, so all those other teams will be playing in Europe, and they're going to have we're all going to have the advantage of a larger squad, or have more on the bench now. So yeah, we'll have a bit of an advantage in that as well. So for that year that we're not in Europe, so who knows? That's something that we have to look forward to. This is usually the time that we'd ask Martin a question, but well, the players haven't fecked off to the beach on their holidays, but Martin has. So this just I'll show you a picture, Martin. This apologies if you have a foot fetish. Look away now. This is Martin. Hasn't appeared on screen. It hasn't appeared for me. I presume it's appeared on screen. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, look away now.
Has he stuck this big
Martin,
toe there?
Enjoying your holiday. Oh, Chris, you know all about that now. He could have.
hey, I do. Yeah. Look at that. Looks a bit sore, that one. We'll have to ask him.
Ask him. Yeah,
I'm bored of that. That's the one thing you spotted.
I know. It's all right. You never know, Chrissy. I'm sure he's got some badger still again, hasn't he, mate?
Yeah. Bloody hell, mate.
Richie, on that
private joke for anyone who doesn't know about that one, by the way.
You have to watch Northern Football Weekly for that. But do we have any questions in the chat, Rich?
There's loads, mate. Absolutely loads. I'll go back. Let's have a look. Where shall we say? Mike Jen started off with a good one as well. Bruno is his normal, composed, brilliant self. Premier League, we are putting you on notice. We are not going anywhere, and we are coming for the so-called Big Six. Just what we've been talking about there. And I don't think he's in chat right now, but he was at the start, and you've got to give him a huge shout. And that's our mate Shane Owen and us, 5 a.m. and he was watching.
Wow.
He was watching the show live. That's
dedication.
some effort. That is some effort, mind. A shout out to go on, mate.
No, I was going to say, we said the same away days on Thursday, because there's a couple of other Aussies in the chat really, really late on. The Aussie backing that we're getting from a loaded point of view, we're getting a lot of Aussie Newcastle supporters coming on. So Shane was one of the originals. He was one of the first. So
he was, yeah.
massive big up to him. But yeah, the Aussie backing's getting bigger and bigger for Loaded HQ. So yeah, keep it coming.
Yeah, we love it. We don't mind anywhere. Any of our viewers are from. It can be anywhere in the world. Don't have to be from Newcastle like us, lads. We're not all from the northeast. We're all around the UK and Ireland. So that's what all this show's about, isn't it? So there you go. Another huge shout out to Andrew Malloy, who became a member. So thank you very much.
Cheers,
I think that's perfect little introduction for Daz to go over the little membership option again as well.
Yeah, so if for $1.99 a month, you can become a loaded member and you get put into the prize draws with our 3 sponsors. Who are, let me mention the sponsors while you're looking for the next question, Richie, who are blackandwhitearmy.com, 1881, both with Bronwyn, and the range that Bronwyn has. You all know the range already, but this is where I also mention that there's loads of nice hoodies and t-shirts and shorts and loads of things on Bronwyn's new 1881 site, but there's also the loaded hat. So the loaded hat, so love it. Yeah, I've mine ordered, Chris, and I know Adam has his ordered. Richie doesn't like the way he looks in the hat. So you never know, there might be something else coming on down the line, further down the line. We have to have a few conversations with Bronwyn. Also, shout out to shybarnes.com, Simon, and the range that Simon has, and you'll have seen us going through the website live before as well, but there's just a quick sample, but there's loads of new stuff on Simon's site as well for mental health. And pins and prints even. And yeah, I grabbed a new picture because Pete was saying I didn't get any new picture, so I got the one you were talking about a few days ago, Pete, the half and half, the denim one. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I just need to say really quickly. I went to Eldon Square when I was in Newcastle, and I went to the I can't remember the name of the shop. I got the bag upstairs, but it's like the old kits.
It was the pop-up store, wasn't it? The retro ones, yeah. Yeah,
I went there, and I ended up getting a top there. They're not cheap, by the way, bloody hell. But besides the point, it had the old blue away kit that you just put on, Daz. And there was one with Les Ferdinand on the back, and I was like, I need to get that. I literally went toilet, came back, and it gone. And then I had the Alan Shearer one in my hand, and then I saw the Alan Shearer one in his last season, the black and white one. So I had the blue away kit with Alan Shearer 9 on the back in my hand. I had the Alan Shearer one like in the home kit, the gold, on his last season with his name on the back. And I literally put the blue one down for a second. Someone nabbed it. I literally ran to the counter, paid, and got out of there. So I ended up getting the black and white Newcastle on Shearer's last season with Shearer 9 on the back, which I love, by the way. I'm really happy with it, but I was a little bit gutted that I missed it. Firstly, the Les Ferdinand one, because those ones just pop up, like you said, Rick. They pop up so quickly and then just go. So literally, we went there right at the beginning of the day, and there was a rare stuff there. And I said to the missus, we're parked right near here. Like, we'll come, we passed this on the way back. We'll come back on. Literally, the shop had pretty much halved by the time I got back in. And I was gutted. But yeah, honestly, great pop-up shop. Fantastic kits, like all old school, top level kits. But you need a little bit of that available if you're going to buy them, because they are not cheap.
Yeah. I've got both of these actually, and I've got the blue one, and I never really liked the collar on the blue one. I'm afraid. Never. I don't know. I still have it. But we see that. Yeah, and of course, Pins and Prints have a range of posters for your selection as well. Here they're up here. They're up here somewhere. Yeah, I'll just flick through them again. You'll definitely have a look at Pins and Prints. You find them on Twitter as well, and they'll bring you to the website, and you'll find something you'll love on that.
It's a brand new one.
Is there?
Brand new one. If you see on the Pins and Prints put out today, a brand new Festina Aspria pin.
Oh, nice.
The Barca one.
Yeah, it was tweeted out probably about a couple of hours ago. Brand new pin, Festina Aspria. Check out Pins and Prints. They've got one available.
Cool. Richie, back to the questions and then at the end we'll tell people what's coming up during the week.
Yeah. Well, Mike's put in a comment. It's not really a question; it's more of a comment. And he said, "Pete, you've got to get your tic-tac board out and show us how we won the game today." However, David Cooks actually answered the question by saying, "The 4-hour tactic board and trick Eddie was obviously watching, so we don't need Pete to go through and say it." So, Keith's part of our epic show on Thursday night, which I was only there for 2.5 hours of it, and I didn't realise it went on for an extra 2 afterwards. But Keith does say that we have to go for a record this Thursday, because obviously we need to celebrate tonight as well, which is hopefully what this show's more about. I think luckily I'm actually away on my wedding for a week away with the missus next week for a wedding anniversary, so I won't be part of that 5-hour marathon next week.
It's not going to be. It's not.
I was going to bed. I was going to bed at 11 o'clock that night, and I glanced at my phone because I was in the chat for about an hour and a half or so. I look at my phone and go, "It's still on. What's wrong? There's something broken here." I was like,
Pete's like that.
Pete never turned it off. He never turned off the show. It's still running.
I'll be honest.
He's still there.
I'll be honest. The last hour is a blur to me. I'm gonna be honest. These boys took over, but in general, people loved it. It was a great show.
Good show.
Good chat all round.
Yeah, there was a few other comments in the chat as well, Pete, that they were saying how were you after how was your head on Friday morning? But I didn't put that up before, so
Bad.
Can you imagine?
I was a mess on Friday. I've got to be honest.
I've done the same as you, Dad. I've done exactly the same as you. I sent Pete a message, and I seen he'd read it, and I was like, "Oh, do you know what? I'll just stick a YouTube show on and just see what's on." And I was lying in bed, and I seen loads of it. Had a little red dot next to it, and I was like, "Live." I was like, "What's going on?" And I clicked on it, and I just seen Pete was brandy, and he was just like, "Yeah, fucking do this." It was great. It was great.
Oh, good deadly. I'm sure there's little things I could clip from that. I'm sure.
Please don't.
Any more questions, Richie?
Dear me. No, it's more. There's a lot of comments coming through. Mike again saying about the ESL work rate today was unbelievable. We need to see this more going forward. We touched on that in our summaries as well. Tony Finley again. On Soccer Saturday after the match, Clint Morris and Michael Dawson both said we could dent Liverpool's title, which we touched on, because they won't like coming to the fortress of St James's like it has been the last few weeks. Lisa's asked a serious question, which we have touched on briefly. I think I did, but obviously I'll let you three answer this one. A serious question. Surely Eddie Howe must be in the running for manager of the season now.
He should be, but I bet he isn't. He should be. He absolutely should be.
If he's not in the list, it will be a disgrace, if I'm honest with you. I heard, I think it was, I think the question, and look, the person they're asking is irrelevant anyway, but they're asking Paul Merson, and he kind of dismissed Eddie Howe and put David Moyes ahead of him. Why? I have no idea. He's had a good season himself. I wouldn't say it was a great season. He's had a good season, but what Eddie Howe has done, no manager's ever done before. No manager's ever done. 2 years out the game, comes in November, late November, by the way, and does what he does over that period of time to a club that everyone thought that was being relegated. If he's not on that list, it's a disgrace. It's a simple.
Bear in mind.
I was going to say, weren't we on 7 points when we got our first win?
I think, was it not from like 5? It was 5, between 5 and
5 when he came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was single figures when he came in, and now we're on 43.
Watch back our shows.
We hadn't even won.
Yeah, it was 5. It was 5 because Pete said before he's got 38 points since he's come in. We're on 43 now.
Yeah,
so that's 30. Yeah, we had 5 points when he came in. It's right. Yeah. I agree. I think he should be in there.
Give him the award now.
Yeah,
give him the award
as well.
Altogether. Yeah.
Right. Another one on life goals. Question is, I'll ask this one for Daz. Daz, does Chris Wood come back in, or do you keep ASM, Joel, and Almiron as the 3 versus Liverpool?
No, Wood will come back in, to tell you the truth. Today was just about resting players. I think we'll revert back to the team we had for Leicester, let's say. Fraser isn't back yet. Yeah, they said that he might hope to get back for the end of the season. So no, Wood will come back in. And Almiron will be in there for where the spot Fraser was. So it's the team we played against Leicester. Really, I think it's the squad against Liverpool, unless he switches it up altogether and goes more defensive. But we have nothing to lose, so we might as well just go for it.
Okay, no bother. Right, Pete, this one for you. Now, we already Chris mentioned before about the poster that we actually talked about in our chat today about the comparisons between Declan Rice and Joe Linton. About there's only the two people who've got over those 5 things, right? However, Jersey Mag wants to ask, is there a more complete centre midfield in the Premier League at the moment than Bruno?
Great question. More complete midfielder. Kevin De Bruyne. I would say Kevin De Bruyne is probably ahead of him. But in terms of a complete midfielder, and that's the...
I was going to say, Pete, in terms of the defensive, though, is De Bruyne on his level in terms of defensive and winning the ball back?
He can be. He's deployed. He's deployed as a midfielder further up the pitch, but you'll see in certain games where he can defensively be very, very good. But I think as an all-round player, we have to remember that Bruno in his natural position is slightly likes to play slightly deeper. The only reason he isn't at the moment is because him and Shelby get on top of each other. So Shelby plays that deep role. He pushes himself further forward. But I would say as a complete midfielder, I don't think there's many midfielders in the Premier League other than Kevin De Bruyne that's a complete midfielder. Maybe, and I don't think he's on his level, by the way. But I think in what he's done at Liverpool, Jordan Henderson in his prime is a complete midfielder. He can do everything and do it very, very well.
Gets injured a lot though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, he's in his 30s now. You would kind of expect that.
So is De Bruyne, but De Bruyne is 30 as well.
Yeah, De Bruyne, and I'm throwing Fabinho in there as well as a potential. Yeah. I'm looking really at only Man City and Liverpool, their pool of players that I could say actually are on Bruno Guimaraes' level, and this is why it's crazy but amazing at the same time that he plays for Newcastle United, because for me, Bruno Guimaraes right now could play for any team in European football, world football. Bruno Guimaraes could play in any team in world football right now, and he would get in and he would start, and that includes Man City, that includes Liverpool. Like he could play in those teams, and I think it's only now we had the foresight to get that player in when we did. It's only now that other teams around are going. They're looking at their scouting network and thinking, "Why did we not pick him up? Why did we not sign him?" So,
another twist on that is, I was just thinking about this today. Should we be given more credit to Steve Nixon? Because like we did kind of, I know I kind of did question him when the whole Joe Linton thing. Joe Linton is a striker, but like Joe Linton has come good, and Joe Linton wasn't really playing as a striker; he was kind of playing a wide attacking player at half line. So, and he's found Bruno as well. Like, and there's probably more up his sleeve for the summer, So I think we should because we could give loads of credit to Graham Carr back in the day. So maybe we should be starting to give some credit to Steve Nixon. Let's see how he plays out in the summer. But
I think just to follow on from that, sorry, Daz, I was going to say just to follow up what you said about Steve Nixon there. What you've got to remember is Rafa Benitez originally didn't want Joe Linton because he wasn't part of the way how we want Newcastle to play, and it was more Ashley and Charlie who forced that deal through. But what you've got to remember is Steve Bruce was his first manager at Newcastle who basically didn't have a clue. He was never, ever a number 9. Do you know what I mean? So, if you look at how he was as a number 9, then, people are going to question Steve Nixon. But then you've got to look at the people that he's got on this list now. So obviously Bruno, you've got Paqueta on that list. He's looking at people like, we were one of the first teams to be looking at Darwin Núñez, whether we get him in the summer now because of how the second half of the season's been for Benfica. He scored home and away against Liverpool in the Champions League. But this is a guy who's got really good connections in South America, and it's going to be a market where how we used to tap up the French market under Graham Carr. Steve Nixon is, really well thought of within, with scouting agencies and player agencies and stuff like that. So he's got a good network up there. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why our transfer window in January was so good. Everyone thought, are the new owners going to come in and be, people, how they're going to deal with this and how they're going to deal with that. And no one's got any experience of that and, dealing with other clubs. Well, we proved them wrong on that one. We got under the radar with, as Pete said, with Bruno. Nobody actually thought that was a possibility. We touched on it before, Pete, on another show where we thought that Newcastle only went to Leon originally to ask about Paqueta, and Bruno wasn't really on the radar originally. And obviously, then we heard we was, and we thought we'd snatch. And obviously, Arsenal were interested, and were probably the only one that really made a contact that were interested, but didn't pull the trigger, and we did. And that's hats off to every single party involved in any of the transfer dealings over the January window. It was a hell of a coup, and it's one that's, I'll finish on this one at that point. Who would have thought we'd be having a conversation here at the end of April comparing one of our centre midfielders with Kevin De Bruyne at Newcastle United?
Yeah.
It's mental. It's mental. And do you know what, Mitch, just to follow on from what you've just said, which is absolutely spot on, we've got to remember as well, since Steve Nixon's been at the club, he's been working under Mike Ashley. Now, Steve Nixon's probably compiled a list of 10, 20, 30, 40 players, and he's probably been told, oh no, well, those top four you can't have. You're going to have to go for him. Who's number 5, number 6, number 7? And we're still bringing in half decent players. Same way with Graham Carr. We've heard of all the players that Graham Carr highlighted, but we never actually got them. We ended up getting other players who were good, and turned out well. But imagine if we got the top targets. I mean, the list of Ben Arfa, Cabai, Enrique, Colaccini, all players like that were highlighted for the club. But how far down that list were those players? There were certain players on that list that I've just mentioned that other clubs wouldn't have touched. We touched lucky with Cabai because we activated a release clause that not everybody knew about. But the likes of Ben Arfa, everyone knew about Ben Arfa, but no one had taken the risk on him because of his attitudes. But now we're shopping at the top of the market. We're looking at players who've got the right attitudes, the talent, and we're not put off by the price tag. Oh, he's going to cost 40, 50 million. Fine, go and get him. In the past, we didn't have that capability. We'd have to bring in players who were either a risk, or there was, something fundamentally wrong, or they had a bad injury record, or they couldn't be trusted in terms of their personal life in outside of the club. Oh, he's a bit of a party goer. Oh, go on, we'll bring him in. It's fine. we haven't got that problem anymore. We will be going for the creme de la creme, if you like. We're going to be going for the players who other clubs want. But now we're an attractive proposition for those players, and there's no reason why we can't bring them in, as Bruno Gomes has proved, as Kieran Trippier has proved.
The biggest one, Virgil van Dijk. We refused to pay the 8 million that Celtic wanted for him before he went to Southampton. And that was the biggest one, because, at that point, he was scoring free kicks. He was scoring headed goals from set pieces. He was tearing it up in Scotland. And yes, Scotland's got that big question mark about it in terms of the quality of its league. But we refused to pay 8 million under Mike Ashley for Virgil van Dijk. He wanted to come to Newcastle. That's crazy. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Yep. We wanted to pay 12 million. They wanted 17. He didn't come to us. He ended up going elsewhere, and look what he became. Lacazette, we're willing to pay 14 million. They wanted 19. He ends up moving on. He ends up he's had a good career wherever he's gone. You go through the list of other players.
You missed Modric.
Modric was at the training ground. Modric was given the tour. I remember seeing it on Sky Sports News. He was at the training ground. He had a look at the training ground. Now, probably he decided after seeing it,
I've seen enough. Yeah.
He saw the paddling pool, didn't he?
But at that point, we let Modric leave that day without signing the deal. That is that is negligence of the highest order. When you have a player visiting your training ground, that should always signal that the player is signing the deal. So you have your pictures taken. You then go off to the stadium where you sign your contract. You get it done. I think if I'm right in thinking, Mike Ashley sent him away back to his hotel without him signing any form of deal. He then gets a call from Tottenham to say, "We want you, come down." He ends up going to London, and within a few days, he's signed for Tottenham. Like, it's an absolute travesty. Like I say, Modric is a fantastic example. There are many others that we could have and should have had, and we were actually right at the front of the queue for, but didn't want to pay the money. But you know, Richie said it. Chris, you're absolutely right. We are right at the head of the table. We are the head of the table right now for some of these players because we're going into a window with the financial state of football and world finances at the moment that are not great. We've got the money to do the business. Not
just that, Pete. What's even better is that when we go for these players, you know, say we're competing with Liverpool or Man City or Juventus or whoever it may be, we can say, "Oh yeah, you'll be in the 11. You're a big part of our squad," because we're kind of in the middle. We're not at a point where we're top, but we're kind of in the middle, which means, we are. We are. But what I'm trying to say is, we're a club who's on the up, but we're a club that hasn't quite got there yet. So anybody joining the party, getting on the bandwagon, they know that we're going to be a top club, and they want to be a part of that journey. And we can say to them, "Oh, by the way, you know, you're going to be in the 11. You're going to be a starter. You're going to be someone who plays week in, week out at Liverpool, Man City, at Juventus, Real Madrid, whatever you want to say." Are they going to be guaranteed that position?
You know what? There's a nice little tangent I took you on there, but let's forget I asked that question, because I'm going to ask that question again, because there's a person that's coming on with us on Wednesday, which would be a brilliant question to throw his way, and because I think it would keep us going for, might beat Pete's record of 4 hours 13 minutes. We have Mitch back with us on Wednesday for we're calling it the dentist's chair. So the Geordie dentist chair. So yeah, get your thinking caps on and come up with your questions for Mitch on Wednesday. So we're 8:00 on Wednesday. We're that one. So I think Mitch will have loads of inside information so as we mentioned, and you know that those kind of shows, they just can go anywhere, and you actually decide the direction it goes on, because we go from the comments in the chat, and that veers us off into another tangent. So that's what was really good about the last one. So, maybe what I'm on, Rich, because you probably have a few more questions. I'm going to mention as well on the other shows next week is we're going to have an away days. Pete is going to confirm the guest will probably be around the Thursday. Well, let's see what suits the guest as well. And then we'll be back on what day is the game next week? Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday lunchtime,
Saturday.
12:30.
We'll be back on Saturday evening then with another one of these reaction shows. So let's hope it's another green tick, and we're all smiling with happy faces on again. Sorry, Richie, back to you with some remaining questions before we close the show.
Right, there's two left, so I'm going to come next to Chris for this one, because obviously we've touched on this player already. Jonathan brought up that he likes the look of Lucas Paqueta. Now, obviously, we've touched on him briefly tonight. There's also another comment that said that someone who watched Adichie has actually turned and said, "You watched Paqueta against West Ham, he was awful in that game. I can't lie. Maybe that was just a poor game, maybe not." Obviously, we all know that him and Bruno got a fantastic relationship. So, you might be missing that chemistry might not be there with whoever's coming as a replacement. And then he's also went, Teresa and said, "I wonder how our team would play with Bruno, Paqueta, Wilson, Isaac, another name who for the forward line, and Trippier in the team." Chris, do you want to answer that question?
I think bringing in. Do you know what I asked? Well, I'm not gonna ask you the question because I've already asked it to Pete, and it'll probably take us on another half an hour. But I asked Pete and Keith on away days a question, and it was, if you could only sign Botman, you could only sign Paqueta, or you could only sign Nunes, who would you pick? And it kind of leads into my answer on this one. I ended up, I had a long hard think about it. Obviously, I love all three, But I had a long hard think about it, and I ended up convincing myself that it'd be Paqueta. And the reason that I say that is because I think from what I've seen of him, and I didn't see him in the West Ham game, got to be honest, but from what I've seen of him, he's got that extra bit of something that we need in our midfield. And I think, from like a forward point of view, Pete, I've already told you, about my doubts over Willock. And I'm not pushing Willock out the door by any stretch, but I just think if you've got that attacking midfielder who scores goals and can kind of link the play, Paqueta ticks every box. And not only that, as we all know, he's very good friends with Bruno Gomes. And if he keeps Bruno Gomes happy at this club, and he's already made a great start, and I've got no doubt that he is happy at the club, but he's going to be even happier if his best friend joins as well. And, he will help Paqueta ease into the club. I think Paqueta would be a fantastic signing. And the fact that he's already been to one of our games, we were talking about it the other week, weren't we, Rich? Saying that I think he was at the Southampton away game.
Yeah, he was.
Which ironically was Bruno's first goal. And he'll have seen the way the fans were with him. And yeah, I for me, I think Paqueta would be a fantastic signing, and I do hope that we sign him because I think he's only going to improve. He's 24 years old. He's only going to get better and better and better. I really do.
Okay, last question, and Daz, I'll stop you. I'll ask all of you the same question, so we'll just go around the house from Daz, then to Pete, then to Chris. Now, Eddie Howe was actually asked in his press conference before the game, but where do you think we would finish if we made 0 signings in January and Eddie Howe had been in charge for the full season?
It's a good one.
Okay, we get no signings in January, and he'd be okay. I'm gonna say around 12th. I think he would get the best out of what we have. You would imagine he'd still have to find Joe Linton's home that is in midfield. If you play on the injuries that Wilson would still happen, then we're the striker short. He'd have to get someone else playing in a striker position that is not Chris Wood, someone that can hold the ball up. I'm still going to say 12th. He'd be able to get 12th out of them in a complete season. But it wouldn't be easy.
Okay, Pete?
We would have stayed in the league, which would have been the remit at the beginning of the season. I'm assuming if we'd have started the season, it would have meant he would have had a pre-season as well with the players.
Full season and pre-season, yeah. Yeah,
so it would have stayed in the league. I would have said maybe anyway. Like that's to be fair, anywhere between 12th and 14th, we would have finished. We're playing without signings.
Okay, Chris, you?
Yeah, we just stayed in the league. I agree. I don't think we'd be as high as we are now, which sounds odd, but I don't think we would be. I would say maybe 13th, 14th. That's probably where I'd put us. As Daz rightly said, I would assume I'm making that assumption based on the fact that Wilson didn't get injured. But Maxi's done a great job up there as well. So I think we would have had enough. Maybe we'd have seen more of Gale. Who knows? So yeah, I'd say 13th, 14th.
I think the only difference I would look at is we've discussed this so many times since the start of the season is if you look at those games that we had at the start, there was so many where we just didn't get over the line and we end up drawing a game. Yeah. I think with the mentality that Eddie Howe has instilled in the team since he came in, and if you had a full pre-season, I think there's a lot of those games we would have seen out. So on those grounds and with no sign, I probably have to agree with you, lads. I think you're looking at comfortably 12th, 14th. You never know. We might got a little bit higher, but I think we'd have been comfortable. I don't think we'd have been looking over our shoulder as much this year, but I think that's just a testament to the guy that Eddie Howe is and the coach he is. And I think that's probably an ideal type to start signing off, Daz.
And he'd still get manager of the season then in that season as well. Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Exactly. Right. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. That's free. If you'd like to join as a member, that's $1.99 a month. So it's probably we're gonna have to play out with the Howe, aren't we? No one's calling for it, but I'm calling for it.
I'm calling for it. Come on, Pete.
Yeah. Right.
Get in.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We will see you during the week. I think our first day back is the Wednesday with Mitch. So make sure to tune in for that. Good luck. Have a good rest of the weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Oh.